What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. No, it's been a little bit since I've posted one. I've just been extremely busy and quite honestly have not been doing my best when it comes to trading. So we've been whipping the struggle bus between my actual job and then or jobs rather, and then trying to trade on top of it all. Working 60 hours a week and then and then coming in here and trying to do a little bit of trading in between just has not been the best for the account. We've been struggling to say the least when it comes to making some money. We had a really good run over the past 2 weeks actually, and then a couple days ago gave it all back, and then today gave some more back on top of that as I allowed myself to stop out mistakenly, and I'll show you what trade that was and where I got stopped out. It ended up being a really good trade. But first things first, let's go over everything that's been occurring over the past several days. Since the last time we spoke, we were in this little bitty balance up here at the beginning of July. We were just chopping around inside this little balance. We finally gapped down, filling the upside gap that we had and creating a downside gap that needed to get filled. Well, we filled that, pulled up into that previous balance area, backed off really aggressively on that one day. Let me zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see on this 30-minute chart here, TPO chart. You can see where the gap up was, and then you can see where the gap down was, and then you can see where we filled in that gap with a pretty aggressive move to the upside. And then just as aggressive as it was to the upside, it was just as aggressive to the downside with a firm push down. Ended up taking out that day's low towards the late towards the end of the day, putting ourselves into some type of balance. And that's what we got up here in the top right hand corner of my screen. You can see I have my daily chart up, and you can see that we are in a balance or in some type of consolidation. Today, we tested and pushed or stretched that balance high just a little bit. So I'll talk more about that here in just a minute. But in yesterday's session, we pushed near that balance low area of 44.1950. We got near that, could not quite break through it as we had excess at the lows, meaning we pulled back and had an aggressive buy and then pushed up into the close. And then today we opened up with a gap above yesterday's high, filled that gap, couldn't really find acceptance back into the previous day's range or value area. For those of you that don't know what value is going to be the blue brackets that you see on my screen. That is where value area is located. So as you can see, we pulled back, couldn't really find acceptance in that value area, and then bounced. So early on in the day, buyers had some things in their favor when it came to our checklist I talked about in previous videos. One of the things that they had was a gap, right? And then that gap got taken away, but they still held above the previous day's value and above the previous day's high. They also had they had higher value. So that is a positive thing for bulls, right? We want to stop this progression of lower lows and lower highs, which means we need to have value begin to move higher. And that's what we had today. Value got moved up higher. As you can see, the bracketed blue here, value got moved up higher than this area. So we chopped around for a good portion of the day after pulling back. Buyers had the overnight high early on in the day in the books, but the gap got taken away from them. And then we attempted to grind up towards the highs of this day here, late in or rather small range early on. We just kind of grinded up C through F period. So A, B, C, D, E, F, right? We grinded up, creating a bit of a Y point of control, and then had a little bit of a pullback, which is where I attempted to get long, or actually I did get long once, got stopped out, took the long again, and then got stopped out once more once we got back below the opening only for me to get stopped out and then this thing run and do exactly what I wanted it to, which was push up to the value high area. Now I was not expecting this big spike and probe that we had late in the evening with M period, that nice spike up. So very positive by the buyers, and then just barely taking out that poor high back from the 7th of July, right? So that 76 area was that poor high. So we just barely took that day's high out by 2 points. So that's why I'm saying we're possibly just stretching the balance to the upside right now. Now, if tomorrow we come in and take out today's high, by a pretty good margin, then the daily will begin to resume one time framing up, and then you would begin to target that 44.98 to 4,500 level. Right. So, didn't mean to do that. So when it comes to where I got long today and what I was looking for on the pullback, I attempted to get long earlier, once we got back above the 144 simple moving average earlier in the day around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the evening. We were attempting to get back above it, failed, and I got stopped out on the way back in. So that was a failure buy right there because I was expecting it to kind of do, if you're looking at the 1 minute chart on my upper left hand corner, the 144 simple moving average is that white line. So we got above that, got above this first standard deviation, and I thought we had a really good chance to run up in what time frame was that? In I period, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Yeah, so an I or J period, I was kind of expecting us to pull up here and then begin to make our move towards the high of day again. But I got stopped out as we broke back below that area, and I took a loss on that. Pretty good loss, as I was relatively large size there. And then once we pulled back in J period, K period opened up. I took the long position on the pullback. I was expecting us to kind of hold above a VWAP at the time and the day's opening, right? So I was looking to hold above the day's opening. So I took a pretty good position there, and I had my stop just below the open and below the VWAP, where I got stopped out by a literal one tick, only for this thing to run up in my face, and I did not get back involved again. I just kind of let this thing grind up and grind up and grind up. But a beautiful long opportunity there against that value low in the previous time frames pullback area, which is what we were looking for. So kind of missed that long there, and took some losses. Just have not been trading well, to say the least. I can read it. I can read the market, but I cannot trade it as well as I would like. I have my good days and I have my bad days. So let's go ahead and bring up our destinations here. Go ahead and label these bad boys for you guys, and then we'll look at our larger time frames, monthly, weekly, and daily time frames for you. And as you can see here, above previous day's high. Oh, one thing to note was in yesterday's session, we did have a 10Y point of control. That 10Y point of control was exactly where the 20-day moving average was at the time. So kind of, bit of a nuance there, to say the least, that we were trading and chopping around in that area, created a wide point of control, very large point of control, where somebody was accumulating a position, to say the least, only for this thing to push up, bounce off that 20-day moving average, push up, have another wide point of control today, and then probe late in the evening. Now we do have, what is it? We have some economic data out tomorrow. I can't remember what it is. CPI. That's what we have tomorrow. We have CPI tomorrow. So we'll see how that affects the market. It shouldn't really. We should already know what is occurring when it comes to CPI. Would not be surprised to see it not come in as hot as some would expect, and then that could really cause this market to push to the upside pretty good. If it comes in hotter than expected, then this market may just chop around inside this balance just a little bit longer. So notice that when we pulled back into today's range, we couldn't even get to that 10Y point of control. So that was another positive thing. All right, so let's go ahead and mark today's low right here at 42. Oop, didn't mean to delete the whole thing. 44, 42. That is going to be our low day. Today's date is the 11th. So we'll put that in. Now we have a Y point of control. Half back is up here. So the closest point to half back would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wide here at C's high. So we got 10 wide at 56. That is going to be our point of control. That is, we have 13 time frames, right, in total. 10 of those time frames traded back and forth through the 44.56 level. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Boom. We do have what I will be calling an afternoon pullback low here in J at 50.50. Kind of a whole number there that we back down to, and then found support, found some buyers there. So we'll mark that as a significant level. Call it an afternoon pullback low. We pulled back and then ended up pushing higher and then probing, and then we'll mark the probe as well here in just a second. These are things you want to have on your chart. Now we're going to mark where we probed, or the price spike was, right here at 65.25. 65.25 is where we probed. So the most positive thing for buyers would be to open above the 65.25 level and hold above it, right? That is going to be the most positive response for buyers. Now, if we open above and pull back to it, you definitely want to hold above. You can back test it, but you definitely don't want to find acceptance back into the value area, because if you do that, then you will go trade at that 10Y point of control at 44.56. And that's not what you want to see as a buyer, right? You want to open up above and then continue to push up above these highs here at 76, which we took out, making our balance high now 78.50. $78.50. So now we are in a 4-day balance. 1, 2, 3, 4-day balance. Today we just stretched the balance high. Now if we take out today's high at 78.50, we will go trade at that 11Y point of control at 83.75. Above that, you have nothing until 91.25, then 94, then 98 as far as the upside destination. So you want to open above 65.25. If you do that, you will look to rotate up higher, and then eventually find acceptance above that 4,500 level. Now, if we cannot take out the day's high, we open above and we can't take it out, you will look to test that 65.25 area, and then with any acceptance inside the value area, you will trade down to 44.56, then down to 44.50 if the sellers are aggressive. Then even to the downside, you have pretty much a vacuum to 42 and 38.25. So those are some targets on the downside. Now let's go ahead and look at our larger time frames here. Looking at our monthly time frame. Monthly time frame has been one time framing up firmly for, you can say, you can probably say 3 months, but for me, I'm going to say 2 months now. We've been one time framing up. We're looking to take out last month's high at 98. So if we get above that high, we'll continue the one time framing up. You do not want to see us have an inside month, and you do not want to see us take out last month's low, which would be very bad for sellers. So you want to continue the one time framing up on the monthly. Now a little back test of the 43.2750 area wouldn't be tragic. However, you don't want to really see that. You want to continue to have one time framing up and then go test April's high up here at 45.8850, right? Go up to that level. And there's pretty much a vacuum to that level if we can get above the 4,500 level and acceptance above it. Let's go ahead and look at our weekly. Weekly, we have been in a balance. Pull up our balance area. We've been in a balance for the past 5 weeks. We are attempting to have attempted to have an inside week, up or down. That's what That's a very good possibility to have. We are inside of the last. So we got a double inside week right now. Last week was inside the previous week. This week is inside of last week's range. We're looking to explode out of this, hopefully to the upside is what buyers want to see. And above that, you got 45.09 as the target 2 in the 45.8850 April 2022 high that we're targeting for the weekly and the monthly timeframes. We do have this little bit of a premium gap here. We'll see if that ever gets filled. And like I said, a pullback to that 43.27 level would not be crucial. And then it would obviously fill in that little gap there. Now let's go ahead and look at our daily. Now our daily's been chopping around inside that weekly range, right? That weekly balance that I just discussed that you can see here on the screen. But you can see how we've pulled back into that 20-day moving average yesterday, and then partially today as it rose up to it. And we are finding some type of bounce once again, right? We found that here. We kind of found it here. Now you're looking to see if we have it here. Or do we break below it and then come down and visit and retest our 50-day moving average? That would require the daily to come out of balance to the downside. Right now, this is what our daily balance. This is what our daily balance looks like. We have just stretched it now to 78, so I'm going to update this from 76 to 78 because we only took out the previous balance by 2 points. Which is not large enough for me to say that we are firmly one-time framing up. So if tomorrow we take out the 44.78 level with any good direction, we'll be calling the daily one-time framing up. However, if we come back, break below the 20-day moving average, break below 44.1950, the daily will be one-time framing down. And then you'll look to target this gap here, and then 50-day moving average, and then the gap down below. And then there's several other gaps below us as well. So sometimes the market tends to like to fill those gaps. We'll see. So looking to hold and stay above the 20-day moving average, looking to break from balance to the upside. And then if we begin to one-time frame up on the daily, guess what? You begin to take out that weekly balance high at 98. Get that 45.09 level. Above that, you target 45.8850 as a buyer. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful day. It's great speaking with you all. Until sometime later this week or next week, who knows? Once a week, maybe. We'll catch you later. See you.